Okay, this video is a little bit different in structure than some of my others. I'm going to start at the end. This is what we're going to work through step by step by step to do. And I'm going to show you how to incorporate debt structuring differently from credit analysis in uh, in your models. Now, the case that was given was very undefined. They said, make a sensitivity based on the different variable O&M interest rates, blah blah blah, uh, inflation rates. And they didn't say, well, when you make a different case, are you using those different assumptions to size the debt? Or are you sizing the debt based on one scenario and then doing the downside cases and seeing how what happens to the IRR and the DSCR and maybe the LLCR, PLCR, if you switch if you hold the debt constant from a sizing and structuring analysis, which is what really happens when you have a whole department structuring the debt, coming up with a term sheet and all that. And then you do the credit analysis later and make sure that that structure works in a downside context, or you do a valuation not based on an assumption that the banks use because they're supposed to be conservative, but you make it on a kind of base case. That the example in solar would be you have a P90 to set the debt size, but you use a P50 to determine the value, and then the bank would change all sorts of different degradation, O&M, other kind of assumptions in their downside analysis. So let's show you kind of what this means. Now, in this case, I have two different scenarios, and we'll make an input C that has one whole scenario and takes the group of inputs, whether the length of the debt, the traffic growth, or the inflation rate. It takes one set of scenarios to do a valuation and another set of assumptions to do the debt size. That's how it's going to work. Let me just show you the kind of result. So let's say that right now, let's switch this risk and value case to a case that has lower growth. I lowered the growth. I'll discuss that. And then right now the LLCR is higher. What happened is we didn't use this case to size the debt. Let's use the same case to size the debt. Now, if you notice just a tiny little thing, when I sized the debt, there was a little thing, a screen thing that came up. And that's because the circular reference was working through this user-defined function, not a copy and paste. And you noticed I didn't have to press any buttons at all. And now we have this kind of debt sizing case. But no, that's not what we really want to do. We're going to leave that debt size in, and then we're going to use a base case to determine valuation. Now I've got a higher LLCR, and I've got this 10% equity IRR, and perhaps we're going to be aggressive. We're going to bid aggressively, and we're going to bid with the sale. So when we make our valuation, what we're going to do is, oops, there's some kind of animal up here in my hotel room. We're going to keep this debt size the same, but we're going to push this blue bar kind of up, and then we can make a valuation keeping the debt size and working through the sale. Let's do this one, okay? And that's just a goal seek. Now, this goal seek does not have a circular reference copy and paste routine because it's no longer necessary. It does check the debt size, so we put our sale together. Now, if you use this approach you can do all sorts of things. So that's kind of what we started for our valuation. And then let's get negative. We have a negative growth. We're back to this case. And then if we have inflation plus growth, we get down to an IRR without the sale of this, and with the sale, it really starts to look bad. And then we have another one, and we have all the different IRRs. This gets really bad in our final. Just a minute. Do I have a final? I put an even higher interest rate, and we have a final downside case. Okay, that's kind of that's what's happening here. Okay, and so we can look at this while this is a more realistic case. We're understanding that we're doing one thing to size the debt, another thing to do a credit analysis. Once you've done this, you can do all kinds of things. Now, I really don't like data tables very much, but what we can do is we can take our little scenarios up here, and we can go down to the bottom. Now, you couldn't do this with a copy paste. You could do it. It would be a pain. You'd have to make a macro, and we'll make a little data table that shows our IRRs in each of the different cases. Now, I accumulated the downside. So I said, here's a minus growth, inflation plus growth, variable O&M. And then very quickly, we can kind of take those numbers, start with the base case, put the differences, put the downside case back together, and we can make our graph. And in this case, I graphed the IRR. We could just as well graph the DSCR and demonstrate, well, maybe I'll do that. Okay, so if we, no, I won't. I'm not gonna. I hope you can. I hope you're getting the idea that this is really a different way to do this. If we have the government making us have a revenue share, we can just click that and attach that to kind of any cases. And now we have to resize the debt because we've got a whole new scenario. And if the government is going to do that, well, we'd have to make a different valuation. I'll compute the valuation with the sale. And then once we had that valuation finished and we say, okay, well, that's how much we're paying for the asset, we've redone the debt size based on the negative growth case. We've put the base case in for our valuation, and then we just keep proceeding. There's our kind of debt sizing case, and we look at the downside case is in this scenario that there was a case that changed the life of the asset, and then we can look at what happens to our equity IRR, for example, without the sale or with the sale. And I argue that this is a far more powerful and important way to do things. And if you're in a meeting, you can just change things. You don't have to worry about, which copy paste button do we have? Are we using this to size the debt or not? All of this, you can really kind of do a fancy analysis. And I talk a lot in this video, but I walk through step by step by step, every little step to do this. And when you look at the actual work it takes, that's not very much. It's a long video, but it's not long because the step-by-step mechanics are there. And we've developed this system, this parallel model system, whatever you want to call it, to really be able to be far more efficient and more flexible than before. So now I'm switching to walking through exactly step by step how we take the copy and paste model and make it into this. Okay, now this is the third part of this JFK Fitzgerald case study. And in this case study, we were asked to create a model that includes sculpting, that with taxes, and that creates a circular reference. We were asked to include upfront fees that create a circular reference because of the possibility that the debt to capital ratio would be used as the basis for setting the level of debt. And if that's the case, then the fees depend on the debt, but the debt depends on the total project cost, including the fees. The tax circular reference was involved because if we set the debt size based on the cash flow, and the cash flow is after tax, and the taxes, for computing taxes, you're allowed to deduct interest. So the interest affects the cash flow and the taxes, but the debt, the cash flow itself, drives the debt, and the debt drives the interest, and you've got a circular reference. And we were able to make a copy and paste macro to do that, and we were able to make right now, we were able to derive the price we would pay for this asset with if we assumed we were going to sell the asset for a profit or not. So if we derived the sale price from the IRR of 8%, and then we sold the asset, we'd actually achieve 9.8%. We could also do the same thing, and this runs through the copy paste and the goal seek. And this time we set the price based on an IRR of 8%, but with the sale of the asset, if we didn't sell the asset, we would get 7.86%. So we were able to do quite a bit. And then we are able to change the case. Now, when I changed this around a little, this time I put all the negative cases, and I made a negative growth case because the idiots who made this case had you change all the other stuff. But the biggest variable in any kind of demand-based project, or we could call it, I suppose, a toll traffic-based project. And the biggest variable will be the volumes. We don't have fixed volumes. That's actually like a renewable energy project in a way. And I've seen cases where you even compute P90s, which is a fraud, by the way, on the traffic, because there are just such classic mistakes made in traffic. We could go on and on and on. But if we have a base level of traffic that's been proven, and we can assume that, so a lot of the traffic risk has been alleviated because we've got some historic data, we still have growth. So I put some different cases, and we come up with a downside case. I haven't put that downside case in yet. And then I rearranged this, and we use our index function with a little scenario number. We put a little spinner box around the scenario number. So right now, if we would change this and make this the negative growth case, well, if we right now we changed the case, we would essentially run the copy and paste if we would size the debt based on this case. Now, let me put it back to the base case. So we could size the debt based on this now, and then look at what actually happens. So let's, in this case, we still have a formula for our repayment, and the formula is basically the debt service, and we haven't fixed the debt. It might look like we have fixed the debt, but we haven't. We've got a circular reference. I mean, we've got a copy and paste in there, and we really almost have to run the copy and paste each time. That's what I'm trying to say. What we cannot do is have one scenario where we size the debt, one scenario where we size the debt, use a different scenario for our valuation, which is very real in solar. It would be you'd use P90, for example, to size the debt, but then you'd want to use P50 for your valuation and for your IRRs and everything else. Okay, and we can't do that. So in this example is kind of horrible. Now, what I want to show you in this video, and I've been thinking about this video for a while. I want you to, instead of being a regular old modeler, be the top of the top. Really, really. And so I hope that we can do this fairly quickly. And I don't know, and I might have to switch off the video. And this is not meant to be really part of a test. This is, you just show somebody, screw you. I'm better than you. I'm better than these idiots. And the people who wrote the test are clearly the modelers. I'm better than you. Because here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make our valuation calculations with different debt sizing. So I might use the downside case for debt sizing, but I'll use the base case, just like I just said, I'm repeating a little, for our valuation. Or I might, want to fix the debt in the base case, just fix that, and then run all these other cases. And I don't want to have to worry about, should I press that copy paste button or not? I want to make a separate calculation of the debt size and the and then the credit analysis. So essentially, we're going to fix that. Now, when I do that, the last thing I want to do, the very last thing I want to do, is have a bunch of copy paste, press another button to fix the debt, fix that, copy paste. I want it beautiful. I want it artistic. I want it smooth. Oh, I want it just I better not go further than that because I'm going to get in trouble because I'm an old man. And I want to be able to really present one of these waterfall charts where we've had, here's the base case, IRR, DSCR, and let's walk down. Let's see, when I change these different scenarios, when I put different growth rates, different inflation rates, different O&Ms, different license, I want to see step by step, what's the impact on the DSCR or the IRR. So I want a really cool model. I'm above the rest of you people now. You people, oh my God, that's bad. And I want, when we put this little cap in for a limit on the revenues, let's do it a lot better than just an extra scenario. We're going to put a little flag here. Well, let's do that right now. So this one, we use the index for all of that instead of, but for this one, that's a little bit different. And that's not how you spell false. Okay, so this one, for me, if I get this right, if this works, I want to show you A to Z how to really do this debt sizing and credit analysis, and this, if this is true, we put a revenue share. Okay, and I want to show you how to be a little more creative, certainly more advanced. Okay, go to a different sheet, back to this sheet. Click on this button. So we can do all of this, all of our analysis. Instead, this one really is unlike the other variables. We want to do the downside case, the base case, all in the context of this variable somewhere. So where should I put that? Maybe here. Perfect place. Who cares really, right? Okay, so if we have a revenue share here and we don't change that, Just a minute. Then we'd have to redo the copy and paste. Oh, how horrible. Because we're changing this. The IRR didn't change because we didn't fix it. And every time we do it, we have to change. Now, I discovered this thing which I almost wish I didn't discover, how to use the UDF method to do a copy and paste. And basically, I got all excited about that. I thought, ooh, I'm going to develop a new company. I'm going to get a bank to use it. I'm going to really be, this is going to change my life. It didn't change a damn thing. And I never sold it or got a penny for it. And I've tried to give it away and I can't. And now Eddie and I have made this. We've really worked on this and we've made this. We've tried to make it so it's really easy to use in a simple case, and then we can have multiple issues, EBLs, curve sculpting, different kinds of sculpting ratios, minimum of debt service, VAT calculations, just about anything you can think of in financing, not in EBITDA. There's an infinite way to compute EBITDA and whatever, CapEx and all that. But there's a limit. There are thousands, obviously, of ways to do the financing, but it's limited. There's a limit on it. And if we have different ways of sculpting, different ways of sizing the debt, different ways of structuring taxes, those are limited, and we can put that in. So we've kind of worked and made it into something complex, but now I'm going to show you how we can solve these problems. And let me give you an example. So one example, let's set the debt from the downside volume case. But let's take that debt, fix that debt, put it in the base case, and no copy and paste. Oh, God, no. We put that amount of debt, the repayment of the debt and the debt size, we put that in the base case. We compute the value we use the goal seek to compute the value without no copy and paste anymore. The copy and paste is from the debt sizing in this case. We put this in the base case. And then once we have this base case with the value set, then we run all sorts of different scenarios to see what our IRR is in all these different cases. And then we make a cool little waterfall diagram and do that. If you could do that, you would be a step above the rest. You would not be a modeling bureaucrat anymore. And that's what we're going to do. Now, to do this, we've got to do a little bit here. What we're going to do is I'll go through. Let me just explain. Okay, we're going to take this model and create the same model. Now, when people oversize the model and do the ridiculous bureaucratic shit, sorry about getting so emotional, when they overdo the model, the model gets way too big. So this is whatever. It's a little model, okay? But it's not that small. We've got semi-annual payments, and okay, we don't have monthly construction analysis. Okay, and that's, of course, we've got that all incorporated. Okay, in the analysis, we don't have multiple debt issues. Fine. Okay, but we're going to copy this model and make another identical thing. Now, all of these things, all of these inputs that are the delightful whatever, the generic macros, which I hope show up as green on this one. These are inputs. Now, this one I have to redo. Oh, God, I better redo our reset and redo our coloring. Okay. Yeah, I'll delete the format conditions and I'll color the sheet. Okay, because I made some corrections. By the way, I also made a correction. I had an error that I found. I found this error because I ran this thing that I call the parallel model. It did the auditing for me. We can put all those auditors out of business. We have a tool that really checks it doesn't check the spelling mistakes. Okay, it checks the real stuff. Okay, so just up here, so I had this thing. This is really from all these inputs now. They're all from the input C, but what I'm going to do, and let me see if I can do this. Let's make this go from I6 to V6, and let's make this, so I'm going to take this little index here, this column, and I'm going to Control F, and let's change I6 to V6. Let's replace that with a $sign I6 to $sign V6. Is that okay? Replace all. Oh, why? I thought maybe I already did that. Just oh shoot! Oh God. Okay. I6. Oh, I7 to V. I've got to just change the I. Excuse me. It wasn't. I've just got to change the I to. Oh God, sorry about that. Well, I'm gonna do it. Okay, let's go to all of these. Control F. Let's change the I and replace that with a $sign I. Okay. Oh, please. Oops. I. Oh fuck. Okay. Hang on. Damn. Okay, it looks like I had to put a bracket in there to change that. Okay, fine. So now I have that, and and I hope. Whoops. I didn't want to change this one, did I? Okay. So now let's also, I hope that we can change this. If I change the F2 and just leave the $sign on the 2, hopefully that's going to work. Okay. Or will it not? Because so just change the $sign F, $2, replace that with, we're going to leave that and just put $2. Okay, good. Okay, so now once I did that, excuse me, I'm sure all of you fancy Excel people could have done this in a millisecond compared to me, and I'm going to leave it. If it goes one further, who gives a crap? Because I've already messed it up. And let me move our little revenue share over to here. Okay, just a minute. I'm sorry it's going to take me so long to get to the damn place where I'm actually going to compute the circular reference. But the key thing is to really understand that in the real world, oh shoot, okay, let's put one here again. Okay, so now we have a input C for the value and risk, and then for the debt sizing. Okay, and now when you do this, okay, good. Okay, and maybe I'll even do this one and copy this over. And this is it's hard for me to get words out. Sometimes I'm putting G here. So I could set the debt size based on the low growth case. So we're going to set our value based on this. And now you think about in a bank or in an investment bank, the people, I used to be a banker once, a long, long time ago. I used to be a credit analyst. And I even was in charge of a credit analyst team, and I was the shittiest boss ever. I was really nice to people, but all we did was eat pizza every night, and we never got any work done and just BS'd, and we drank a lot and everything. That was in the old days. I'm much better now. Don't worry. And I was doing credit analysis, and we were considered the crap. Oh, credit analysis. Ooh, you credit analysis. And the fancy people were the investment bankers. Ooh, we are structuring the debt. We're coming up with the contracts. We're sizing the debt. We're coming up with the repayment structure. And all you credit analysis, go do a downside case and make sure we get paid. And if you screw anything up, I'm going to get really mad at you. Okay, so we're going to structure the debt. This page that we're going to make here is going to be a debt structuring page. And now in the summary page, we'll have one scenario for our debt size, and we'll have a different scenario. And don't worry, I'm getting to the UDF really fast and showing you how easy it is to do this. But the idea here is the crucial part. And when you make a model, you're trying to make a model like Google Maps is a model of the future. And you're trying to make a model of how the world really works. And the world really works with a different, with people who size the debt and people who do the risk analysis and valuation and then the credit analysis, really, okay? So here we can take and I decided to do this. Maybe I could have left this out of the video, but I messed up with my little copying and all that. So we can size the debt based on one set of assumptions and do our credit and our risk. How about risk and value? Let's call this risk and value scenario based on something else. So now let's see how we could do this. The first thing, I'm just going to be kind of really lazy and just right click, and then I'm going to move or copy the whole sheet, and let's move it to the end. And we're going to take the exact same model. That's why I said the models don't have to be so big. And the really only part you need actually is the debt sizing. So a couple of those down things where we compute the return on equity and all that, we wouldn't even need. Maybe we'll take that out now. But this will be our model, and it will be our debt sizing model. Now, up here, I took, and I hope I can do this okay, everything up here in this column, and mainly it came from this column. Well, yeah, everything up here came from input C. Okay, I'm going all the way down just in case. Those were all of our, and I'm just going to change the input C. Oh, those copy and pastes are going to be so wonderfully obsolete. Those horrible, disgusting buttons are going to be gone. Now, this is the kind of section you could really do without. And then we have our graphs. Okay, and actually, the graphs we're really going to use are going to still be from the other sheet. Let's see if I can do this. And I'm going to replace input C, and it might be we're going to replace F with let's try this, input C with the F. No, I have my exclamation point. The F. Did I do that right? Input C, the F, and we put that just right now into G. Okay. Okay, please work. Okay, 31 replacements. Now, it's also possible that I put a $sign on the G, and then I'll go ahead and put a $sign on the C. I might not have really done that, but just in case. Okay, good. We couldn't even find anything. So all of these ones. So right now, when we do all of these inputs, are going to come, and this one we could even now take this one I did up here and take this from the debt size case. Okay, so this is our negative growth case, and we'd have to okay, we'd have to cut this, and we really want to we want to show you. Okay, we want to show you. Oh, where did it go? Where did it go? Oh, it probably went somewhere else too. Stupid little things. Okay, so we might want to size the debt based on our negative growth case, our inflation case, our variable O&M. Notice these are all bad things, or the increased interest, or even the worst downside case. Whoops. Okay, and when we now, if we put for example, if we put this, whoops, yes, I hope I'm going the right way. If I put the negative growth case in here, this G, let's find the growth. The growth in car volumes. It's 2% in this case, and when we did the growth rate in the car volumes here, it was 3%. So we're at the bank, we're saying we have a different case. We don't believe your case. We're negotiating how we're going to size the debt, and we're using some negative assumptions. The classic case for this would be the P90 case in a solar. It's exactly how you do it. You use a 1.2 times on a 1.2 times on a P90 and not a P50. But then to do your analysis, you use the P50. Okay, that's that. Now, here is what we're going to do, basically. Up here, this was kind of this was a disaster. Now, we have this copy and paste, and we have a difference here, and we have we have to run this fixed. This fixed is going to come from a UDF. Okay, and the other thing that really got messy was this fixed fees. That's going to come from the UDF, and after that comes from the UDF. So we don't have any copy and paste to fix anything. Then we're going to get the new repayment here, and we're going to get a new debt size, and even this debt size is even going to be so smart that it's going to figure out what the PV is and what the 80% debt constraint. Right now we have a way lower debt because of the DSCR. Okay, so we're just gonna be able to fix all of these, and then once those come from the UDF, we go to this case that does the valuation. Maybe it sounds a little complicated. We don't really need. We could even delete all this debt sizing, but for now I'm not even going to bother to delete it. But when we put in these numbers here, and really specifically, when we put in this debt and this debt fees, and most importantly, this debt repayment, well, just as importantly as the size, really, that's going to come from our debt size sheet. And then we can do all of our analysis. And if we don't change anything on the debt size, we can start doing all of our different assumptions here. Leave the debt size in, because that's the way the world really, really works. Do our valuations from this sheet. And then even better, we're going to be able to put our fancy graphs. We can do data tables if we want. I don't like data tables, but we can. We can do our waterfall charts. We can have Excel just work. The only buttons we'll really need anymore will be the only buttons we'll need. Am I moving around too much? Am I still? Oh, you can still see me. I don't know. I'm in Malaysia today. I use too much jet fuel. I feel so guilty about that. It's ridiculous, but I'm trying because I hate climate change deniers. They're some of the most disgusting people in the world. Okay, if you're a climate change denier, I'm sorry I pissed you off, but really I don't care about that much. So here's what we do. Here's the step by step. I'm going to put this template. I press Control Tab because I have my generic macros open. Why Excel took that Control Tab away, God only knows. Okay, and what we're going to do is attach two pages called UDF inputs and UDF outputs, and do that really easily. We're going to attach that, and I tried to make it so it's not going to screw up. We've been working for years on this. Goddamn years on this. And somebody's going to use it one day because it's going to be so cool what we can do. We're going to just grab the CapEx, the EBITDA, the working capital change, our depreciation. We're going to put in our debt constraint and our DSCR constraint. We can put in a fixed debt, which we don't even need. We're going to say, do we want to use our model by setting the debt from debt to capital cash flow, or number 4, the minimum of the two? That's what we're really going to use. And then we're going to say, well, what if you run into this problem where you use the debt to capital, how are you going to sculpt the debt? Because you can't use the DSCR. You can do different ways to sculpt the debt, but we'll keep that pretty simple. Then we'll put in the interest rate, because we'll only have one issue. You could have 10 issues and EBLs and everything else. We're not going to show you all of that crap. And they didn't even have a DSCR in the DSRA in this one, either on an LC basis or a whatever. And then we'll put some tax parameters in. I left this at 40%. This is going to be our 20% we have in the case. And we can allow negative taxes or put an NOL in and do some things with development fees and working capital and VAT and LCs and MRAs and kind of a whole lot. And if you'd ever have to change something, you add it. Now, what you do, so that's just a little introduction. Now we've got to attach this to your model. Not this model, your model, your model. And all you do is open this template. And I'm putting this all over my website. I'm going to put it everywhere. You're going to get it for free. I wasted so much of my life on this stupid thing when I should have been writing books about finance and climate change, the real subjects, and how finance screws up climate change. That's what I'm really going to talk about. And I'm going to have classes in there, and I'm going to go to Europe, and we're going to have in-person classes. And now I'm going to take this template analysis and stick it into this one. And then I just press this little button, and you can try it. And when you do it, I put a little thing. You can see how I did all the little macros, and it's all totally transparent, nothing hidden. And then, just a moment, just be patient. Okay, now this whole analysis, and really it's like a gigantic sum function. That's what it is in this. Now, there is a little bit of thing to do. I'm going to turn on our thing, and I'm just going to use this. I just have to change something a little bit here. Just a second. I'm going to close our template. We don't need this. So we just take this, and you know what might happen? You might change some of this little code. I'm not going to go through that code now. If you want to really do this, I'm going to have a class, advanced class, where we show you really how to do all of this. So you are not just some regular old modeler. You are really the top of the top. And we have to make, right now, I got to make sure my calculations are turned on. Okay, and so let's turn, the key thing is this is a special kind of function that you can turn on or off. And I'm obsessed with being able to turn it on and turn it off and see how long it takes to run. And that's how long it takes to do our little circular references, which is basically kind of like right now the copy and paste. But I assure you, and there's a reason for this, if you put a copy and paste in a monster model, that copy and paste has to go and copy, just copying any little thing in one of those monster models. And if it affects a whole bunch of variables, it slows you down like crazy. And this isolates and takes it out of the Excel and just does the modeling in an old-fashioned code. What I used to do, I'm embarrassed to say, I am not as old as you might think. I'm pretty old. I'm very old. But in '79, that's when I first did my first computer modeling, not on a paper spreadsheet. We used Fortran, and if you give a shit about that, why would you care? Now, let me just put one. So we're just running the model, and now right now, when we run the model, okay, come on, okay, I'm nervous. It gives us, it like redoes, this is why I call it a parallel model. It redoes our whole analysis. It gives us a little sources and uses statement. We can get any report we want. It can go like crazy to all the taxes. What happens if you have a limit on the taxes? And then this is where we can do the different debt sizing options. And there are a whole lot of more reports you can get. Okay, it redoes your model, except it doesn't really redo all your EBITDA and all that. And what you do now is this model, this stupid little thing, there's a lot of code in here. So one turns it off. I'm going to turn it off. And then what I'm going to do is just link up the CapEx. I just go to the, and then here is what we're so careful with. I take everything from the debt size area, and we go up, and every model will have some CapEx. Now, of course, this has got very detailed, month by month and all that, blah blah blah. Okay, and we put in the where are our CapEx? Our CapEx, that's our headline payment up here. And then I'm pressing Shift Control R. Okay, and by the way, I should have really started with the timeline. Okay, I should have taken the construction period here, and I can't imagine that you have a model that doesn't have some sort of construction flag and operation flag. In some ways you do this, I know really sucks. You can't have a consistent timeline across, the monthly for construction, semi-annual, and all that stuff. You have all of that, and then we put in our EBITDA because I hope everybody has EBITDA. Now, there's a little bit of an issue. If you have an EBITDA, and I hate this when people put anything related to finance, this is EBI, earnings before interest, and I consider a fee like an interest. So if you put your debt fee in there, we have to be a little careful with that, but that's all resolved. So we have all of this, and then we have our working capital change. And by the way, that's where I made my mistake. For some reason, I used the level of the working capital instead of the change. That's what we want here. And then we can put our depreciation in. And now this could be, we had a little bit of discussion, this could be the depreciation we use for the, based on our headline value that changes or not. And if we want to put some fixed debt in, what we could do is just, now this is just for if you're really doing kind of a detailed analysis, and you know the debt, and you kind of said, let's just make sure that we really get a parallel. So I'm just putting that in, a parallel thing. And then you can use all sorts of financing waterfalls or cascades, cascade, en français. And let's put our, we might want to change the maximum debt to capital. So we can just basically take that from an input. We might want to change the DSCR. We take that from an input. And this time I took this one and kept it the same. So we can have a changing DSCR if we want and do all our sculpting based on this. And this is where I could let's do 2 debt to capital. And let's do 3. Let's put the cash flow, meaning the DSCR. And then we go down and we only have 1 debt issue. You can have much more. And you put what the tenor of the debt is. And for the tenor of the debt, oh, I only had 30. Did that change at some point? Okay, this is in periods. You notice it says periods. We have a grace period. I'm going to put 0 for the grace period. Whoops. And then we put our interest rate on our debt in. And, just about every time in this model, I was kind of lazy. We had, usually you put an interest rate period by period. At least you should. I've noticed monster models that don't do this. They do everything else in the ridiculous amount of detail, but you can't see the period by period interest rate. And then we had a upfront fee. Where was our upfront fee? Just a minute. Okay, come on, I see it there. Oh, it was downstairs because we have the circular reference a little bit, okay? And then what happens is, and then, whoops, we better put our tax rate in. DSRA we're not putting in, and let's put an equal sign and just get our tax rate. Now, I'm sorry if this was a little bit tedious, and I was a little bit worried about it being tedious for you. But that's why I've never kind of gone through this whole thing before like this. 2F4, let's copy that just in case we had a changing tax rate, like seems to happen in some countries, some pretty big countries where they change the tax rate all the time. Okay, and then now we don't have anything occurring, but we do the big deal. So you can go and try this. And maybe the first time you struggle with it, or you can call me. I will travel anywhere in the world. I will come and have either an in-person session and show you exactly how to do it. Or we can have a virtual session. You send me your model. I'll show you how to implement this in your model. I'll prove it really works. Now I'm not going to turn it off. And then when we do this, now what happens is it goes and it makes all of our calculations. Okay? And, I think what happens is the formatting sometimes has to be redone. And so what you do is you just click this little button and you can see the macros, all these macros we did and everything else, the formatting. I'm not hiding one damn thing. Okay? And right now we have 53% debt, 47% equity because we've got a relatively low IRR, and we've got the repayment of the debt and the pattern of the repayment. We've got the uses and sources of funds, and then we go down and we have some checks to make sure the model is working. We compute our EBITDA. After we compute our EBITDA, we have some earnings before taxes. We take some taxes on those, but notice that taxes deducts the interest, and we can put a limit on the interest deduction if we want, and model it however you want. We've got the working capital change, and then we have the CFADS, and then we decide, well, we're gonna do the CFADS, and we're gonna set the debt size based on this CFADS, and when we take the present value of all of the debt service, we get this number, and then we can look, well, what happens if we used right now we could put this fixed debt in. This is the debt based on 80% of the cost. We get this much debt. And this was the debt size based on a 1.35. And let's just look. If this really worked, I'll be kind of shocked, but maybe it'll work. Okay, and then we go down and I've got a little bit of a difference. Just a minute. I've got to check this for a minute. Now, this always happens. I didn't run the copy and paste here, so this gave me exactly the same result. And you can work through all the equations. Now, if you work through all the equations, basically what we have is something kind of like, you know, a CFADS sheet. And in the CFADS sheet, it's got some taxes. It might look a little scary to you. EBITDA is EBT is EBITDA minus depreciation minus interest, and you have to put a little things in, and then we do our NOL calculation. It's all just doing the equations, and then once you do the equations, you've got a little bit of a just like you would in you resolve the circular reference with a do while loop. Do while the difference, and I put some extra stuff, and then it looks all complicated and all that. But if I swear, if you have a model, I'm gonna work with you. I promise, and we're gonna fix it, and we're gonna make sure it works. Okay. By the way, if you think this is something and you don't know how to do modeling and you haven't practiced regular old copy and paste before, don't do this. You've got to work on copy and pastes and do this. Now what Hetty and I have really been doing on this is now I'm going to change this. I didn't go through the reporting. I'm going to change, and I don't want all these reports. All these reports, they're very nice, but they slow things down. I'm going to make a little bit of a working sheet. And now I was kind of stupid because I was in a hurry because Napoleon said, "Trust me slowly because I'm in a hurry." And I should have put this one to turn the whole damn thing off. I call it a damn thing because I know nobody will ever use a damn thing. And then we put zeros here. And if you really want to be a good modeler, this is the way to do it. And if you have a template model, this is what we're going to do. Okay, and so we have this number one, and then I'm gonna switch this on and off again. I know that might be a pain. Maybe I should have done this with a little checkbox or something like that. And then we just have a few different variables. And then I've got to kind of reformat this. And this time I'm going to press yes because I only want to format that little bitty sheet right on the top. And all we really need is issue number one. How much debt do we have in issue number one, and how we're going to repay that debt. And these things better add up to the same amount of the debt issue. And right now I should have perhaps... Well, I'm going to do this too. I'm going to change this. Instead of being set to cash flow, I'm going to change it to be the minimum of the two. So right now, and I hope it gives us the same result. If I don't, I'm going to cry a little bit. And it did, because the debt to capital, and this has the ability then to use either or. And that's basically all we need. So we just need to get this. I don't know. We could use either one. So if you have multiple debt issues, then what you do is you go into this debt size. Okay, and perhaps I should have. I could have. I'm going to take this circular reference away. And I should have practiced this a little bit. And I'm going to put up here the output. I'm just going to take this from the output. Shift Control R. Okay. And then the other thing I'm going to do is up here in my debt that I select, I'm going to put the debt applied here, and I'm going to just get that from our output here. Okay? And sometimes I might have another circular reference for the rest of it. I think if I fix this debt, and just in case, I'm going to fix this debt too, because it's the same. Okay? And then let's go up here and change this calculation down here. This is just the sum. I'm going to press alternate equal, get the sum, Shift Control R. If you believe that I have the iteration button clicked, you're wrong. I don't have any iteration button fixed, and I don't have any circular reference anymore. And up here, I can even just set this based on the computed fees, and I don't have any. This is obsolete, this goddamn thing. Okay? And we don't have to put our differences here. You know, all of those things are long gone. Whoops. Just a minute. I was wrong. I need to make this equal to the computed. I didn't need this stuff here. Excuse me. And I didn't need this difference. Okay? Everything is automatic. No copy and paste button. And then I can size the debt based on it goes through this. I can size the debt, and what did I just change? Okay, just a minute. It shouldn't have really. It should have only done it once, but that's actually okay. So now I've got a different debt size if I change that, and I didn't have to run any copy and paste. So let's joyously get rid of that stupid thing. Okay, and we don't have any optimized buttons or anything else, but that's not the big deal. Let's put, so right now the debt applied with just the inflation is here. If I would run the debt with no, that's with the variable O&M. I went the wrong way. So just a minute. There, you see the debt is changing. And, you know, if you had a balance sheet here, you'd make sure, and that's the negative growth case, which they should have used. And this is the base case. So we get a different debt size. And when we get a different debt size, we get a different equity. Let's leave this one in for now. And in our debt account, we go and make sure that we've really repaid all the debt. And it's all in there, and it really didn't take longer than it took us to do our copy and paste. It really, really didn't. And that's the idea, that it doesn't take any longer. But now, look what you can do. So now let's put our debt size from our growth case. Okay, and after we put our debt size from our growth case, then we've got a base case, and in our base case, let's do essentially the same thing. We're going to get rid of this circular reference, and the way we're going to get rid of this circular reference is the debt will come from debt structuring. And the thing we really have to do is get our debt applied. Now we could get a little fancier in that. We could print out a couple of extra variables and get the maximum debt and all that. But for now, I think I'm just trying to illustrate the key conceptual and the key, and there's still no circular reference, no disaster is happening here. And then we've got to also put in our repayment of debt somewhere. Where is that? Right here. Let's put that. That comes from not this sheet. That comes from a different debt size. Now, you could have done this with a bunch of copy and pastes, and it gets clumsy. It really gets clumsy when you try to do this, especially, can you imagine a monster model? and we've got this, the thing is set to automatic. Everything is fine. Okay. So now and this thing comes from our computed, and we get rid of this, and we don't need these things anymore, just like before. And we go upstairs and we put our computed in. Now Eddie is, whoops, oh shoot. Did I do a different calculation here? I didn't want to, just a minute. Shift Control S, can I do that? Yes. Shift Control S removes the Shift Control R. Alternate equal here. Excuse me for that. And we should recolor this. And we don't have any difference between fixed and computed. Okay, and now we are essentially finished. And the really cool thing is that now let's put this one. Oops, just a moment. I did not want that to compute. I'm going to have to pause the video for just a minute. This is the first time I'm trying this. Okay, we did not want that to recompute. We only wanted this to recompute when we're doing when we're sizing the debt. I'm going to have to pause, and actually it's getting really late, so I'm going to make the rest of this video tomorrow. Now, you can see it's different. I went to bed last night, got very excited about Excel and all our stuff. Well, yeah, didn't sleep well. But when I left off, I made a mistake. And there was one little mistake, and it's not that big a deal. When we go into this page that we could call the value page or the risk analysis page, what should happen is I should be able to change the scenario. And if you notice, when I change the scenario, this is the great news. When I change this scenario, just a minute, I'm getting there. We don't really need any of this stuff actually anymore, because this number, and if I redo our generic macros, this comes from the other sheet. This comes from there, okay, which means it comes from the other sheet, and this comes from the other sheet. Now, these are all, it's almost like they're fixed from the copy and paste macro, okay? If you change the scenario in the debt sizing sheet, okay, I'm going to change it to the base case or something. Is that what I just put in? No, the inflation case. Every time I change it, I'm running. Now, you can, if you say, oh, that little message is irritating as hell, well, maybe. I leave it in there because I want to make sure I know when the circular reference thing is running, and it's running when I change the debt size sheet, and it's not running when I change to the scenario sheet. Okay, and that's big news. And when I left you yesterday, I was all upset because it did. And that was because absolutely everything in this, if I just take one little thing, everything you see is in wherever. It's from column G. I'm looking at this thing here. Everything's from column G. If I took anything in this part from column F, then whenever I change something here, Well, anything in this debt size sheet drives our summary of our debt size and our debt sizing analysis. So everything's got to be from the one column, and there was one little thing that wasn't from the right column, and that got me a little upset, but I resolved it. Okay. And this is starting to get exciting. We're finished with all our circular reference stuff. Okay, maybe let's make our debt size, let's make our debt size from that we're running the base case for both of these. Now, if you see something like this, the other thing you should see is go screw yourself, Mr. Test person, because we've got all this blue area that's not covered by debt, and there's a whole bunch of potential for refinancing. And we can also incorporate all the refinancing. I think I would put it in this sheet unless you have a circular reference. A circular reference could be if there are taxes on the refinancing. I would do that a lot simpler. And I think that's until I get anybody interested in this, we'll wait with that. Okay. So right now we're at 1.35, 1.35. Now let's say that I change my scenario and I put a lower growth rate in, like we should have. Whoops, just a minute before I do that. So this is not there. Now, here's the good news. This is going to feel so good. Bye, copy and paste. We're still going to do a goal seek. Now, what I did with the goal seek is I took out all the copy paste stuff. Okay, so it's a regular goal seek. I did it twice just in case, because you have to set the value, and then the value in theory it probably won't, but it could affect the debt size, because if we have a higher debt value and we're using debt to capital, we could have a higher fee and even a higher debt. So we better run it twice. Okay, or you could even say maybe if we're really running it for debt size, it might be even a couple more times. So, well, but whatever, that's a little bit of an issue. So let's run it without a sale. Okay, so we do our goal seek. Okay, now you can see what I'm doing the debt sizing just in case. Come on. And we get our thing. Okay, the goal seek had to be run. Okay, and then, but then we've got our 8% in here. I'm going to leave the debt size based on this, but then I'm going to say, we reduced the growth. Ooh, no, the DSCR went down. Ooh, gosh. And the IRR is, it's negative. Oh my gosh, that's a big one. Then if I just change inflation and nothing else, I can see what the effect of just changing inflation, variable O&M, and that's all. And I can see what happens to the DSCR, LLCR, and PLCR if I don't change anything. Downside case I haven't adjusted yet. If I have higher growth, whoops, what's going on? Negative. I'm not sure. Just a minute. I'm not going to worry about the upside case. Maybe I must have done something wrong in the upside case. I'll leave that. Okay. So that's we can just run that. Now, the other thing we can do is we can say, let's just put it on the low growth case. And this time, now if we change this to the low growth case, notice now it's running the scenario, and I've got a different debt size and different debt capacity. Okay, now I'm going to put this back up to the base case. I got to push it down. Okay, and now what I have to do is rerun this, because now notice my IRR without the sale is a little bit lower, and that's a realistic kind of case. That's a realistic kind of way you do the analysis, okay? And now we get our 8% back, okay? And now when we put the growth rate case in, okay, now the bank's a little more careful. And if I run number 2, I get the same whatever. I got a lower PLCR. If I run it with the inflation case or the other case, well, some of these the DSCR isn't affected much because the first year they're all kind of growth things. Okay, so you can see how that works. All right, uh, I think if I haven't convinced you yet, I don't know what to say. You got to make absolutely sure that you really understand how structuring and analysis work at the bank, and the fact that we can use a different scenario for debt sizing as we do for valuation. The bank might say, go dream on about this kind of growth, uh, 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 and also and say, this is a more realistic scenario for us as banker. If that growth materializes, go ahead and refinance and get some upside in your IRR, and those are kind of really interesting issues. And you want to be able to demonstrate this. And these idiots in these tests, they make it really fast, and they don't have you thinking enough. You're just mechanic. You're supposed to come mechanical bureaucratic machines who can type Excel really fast and know how to do a copy and paste. All right, now let's just do one more thing. Let's make some scenarios. Now, when I made these scenarios, I kind of did them separately. And I think what we might want to do is take all of this. We could even start here. We're going to take all of these cases. Oh, by the way, I was going to show you how that. Let's do this. So if I do a revenue sharing situation, so let's just put revenue sharing. Now, just a minute. When I put revenue sharing, I better be very careful. Just a minute. So remember, we have to go up here and find where we did the revenue sharing. Oh, come on. Oh, please. There. Now we've got true, and let's make sure that we have the same thing here. So this one actually comes from here, and if I put false here, come on, we should. I'm totally afraid of doing this, but I'm gonna try. Why not? Well, don't be so afraid, you coward. I'm talking to myself now. So now we can keep the revenue sharing consistent in both places. Okay, now I'm very afraid. The first thing I'm going to make sure and do this. This is good. It does not. I still can run this case without doing this. Now, if I put my revenue sharing in, okay, now it's gonna give me a new a new scenario. And now let's put this back to the base case again. I'm just having fun right now. Isn't this a blast? If you can feel accomplished now this is, we're doing our goal seek again. Okay. And then we could do the whole analysis with revenue sharing or without. And these idiots, that's the way they should have done this, not just put revenue sharing as a separate scenario. Get a little creative, mister. Okay, sorry about that. And then we can do the same sort of thing. So I can see, what happens if I change the growth? I'm looking at the equity IRR. What happens if I change I could look at the PLCR maybe. That's a better one to kind of look at. And then, okay. Now let's go item by item and illustrate which of these items has a bigger effect on the IRR, and do something basically that you could do with copy and paste, but it would be enormously difficult because you'd have to create these data tables, man, with a macro, and then do a whole bunch more stuff. And if you press a button, it changes it all and everything. So right now, I'm going to change this, and that's what I just started to do. And I'm going to make a little conditional formatting so we can really see what happens when we change a variable. Now, if you do that, okay, go to the side, and then what I'm going to do now, after you do this, go to the I'm going to make a kind of, this will be a little more extreme downside case. I'm going to go to the home page and go to conditional formatting and use a new rule and use a formula. And in that formula, I'm going to be really careful. I'm going to go up to the top. I think you have to do this. At least I always have thought that. I'm going to go to the top left and press the F4 until we just get the cell. And then I'm going to say if it does not equal, and then in this case, I'm going to press the same thing, but I'm going to press that, and the base case is always in column I. So I'm going to press that. When the cell doesn't equal what's in the base case, now you're going to test it each time. Then let's find a nice little color. Okay, I don't know if that's okay. You might not like that. Okay. And oops, this is good. I seem to have. I see. I made some kind of change in this assumption the other day, and that's pretty good. Okay, and so now I can show exactly what's changed when I change the base case to other cases, and you know, I'm already seeing that I have some problems because. I want to keep this the same, and then this is interesting too. God, I don't want to run this all the time. So let's just turn our thing off for a minute, and then we can. So if somebody moans about this taking too long, and then you know what I'm going to do is once I make a change in one thing, I'm going to keep it going. So that then we made it, the next one we made a change in the inflation, and let's keep that one going, and let's keep this one going all the way till we hit the downside case. Okay, so that conditional formatting just, I think it's kind of good. And then we changed, and we had, remember, I didn't say it, but a low inflation rate hurts us because we're inflating the revenues. We love high inflation, and we should really look at real returns, and we should have a whole discussion about inflation and the real way to analyze this, and it's certainly not really like this. And then let's go and find our variable O&M, and we change that, and let's just continue that. So we're just continuing, and we're accumulating to a downside case, which is whatever, where everything kind of goes wrong, and you can say, oh, that never happens. You shouldn't assume that, but you call it what do you call it when it's a perfect storm bullshit. And then we have our interest rate going up. Oh, this is our life up here. I suppose we could just go to here and go to the downside case, and since we put our formulas in, it repeats. And once we then I change this, and then we've got our downside case, which is kind of like our interest rate. It includes absolutely everything. Okay, now. Let's try something that I haven't tried for a while. I'm going to do something I kind of hate, which is a data table. Now, the reason, of course, you don't like that is, oops, Alt-EIS. let's make a one-way table, and this what we're going to do is use this is going to be the whatever the row index, and let's put for each case, let's get the equity IRR, the EIR with sale. Let's get, maybe I'll make this a little wider. Let's get the DSCR, the LLCR, the PLCR. Okay, so we're gonna do this for each case, and I should have put this over here. Excuse me. Okay, and now let's just get our outputs. So we just go to, oh shit. Just a minute. What did I do here? Oh God, sorry about that. Okay, just for the sake of full disclosure, and maybe maybe you'll be used to it more than me, because I haven't even touched this stupid thing because it kind of depresses me because nobody will pay any attention to it for a while. But you had to turn this thing back on, because when it was off, it was all blank, and I got a couple of those values. So that was not a big deal. Let's get the equity IRR, and we can start with this one, and then we can get the equity IRR with the sale. Okay, and then we can get the DSCR, which was the minimum, and then, okay, I hope that, okay, okay. And then let's make a data table, which you certainly couldn't make with all your copy paste, and go to data and what if analysis and data table, and this time the column is a output, so let's adjust the row input and put this thing in the row input, and come on, whoops, do I now I just have to make sure I put let's put it to automatic just for a minute. Okay, and maybe we'll copy. I bet you can do this faster than me. Okay, so we get all of our scenarios, and why don't we even put our scenarios up here, and now we can get all the way just till we hit the downside case, and we can see how it works. So if we take the base case and then see what the growth impact was, the inflation and the growth impact, the variable O&M, and we're all the way down to the miserable old downside case, but it's still above the risk-free rate. I would almost say this is a positive. We can show the bank that the PLCR remains kind of comfortable, and even the minimum DSCR is kind of okay through all the way to the base case. Now, the way I would then do this is go up here again and copy it, and then we put in our, let's just do it with the equity IRR, and then once I have that, we take the impact of the growth, which is this minus that, so it's going to be a reduction. We could do this with the upside case, and then you can kind of copy it all the way down, and then when you get to the final downside case, just put this in again. Okay, so that's a little bit manual and painful, but once you have this EIRR, you can select this area and press F11 to get a graph, but that's not the kind of graph you want. You want a waterfall graph. And that was so sad when, I used to make these waterfall graphs before Excel did, and you click on this one and you make it a total, okay? And then you right click and maybe put add the data labels, and let's go up here and put, I don't know, let's put a bigger thing so I can walk from the base case and show you how you walk from the base case to the downside case. So screw these people. Say, fine, I'm going to do your thing, but give me extra credit. It's going to take me another hour, half an hour to do. And then I can do this kind of stuff and say, screw you. You can't do this with your old copy paste. You can't do this as quickly. You can't be really flexible. You can't do all of this. And even if you even want to say, if you even want to go further and say, okay, well, let's pretend the bank sizes the debt with the instead of the growth, the other one, okay, and then I can show what, and I hope I don't, I think now, yes, now I've got a higher thing. I'm not going to redo the whole evaluation, but I can show what the results are with different debt sizing scenarios. So maybe we'll go and put, well, what kind of debt sizing scenario did we use so we can remember this? Whoops, did I just screw that up? Oh no, I did the ultimate crime that I always criticize people for doing. Why didn't that go in here? Oh, come on, just a minute. After all of this, I can't get the stupid equal sign to work? No, I didn't do that. No. Okay. Why did this not work? Why doesn't it go there? Okay, I'm going to stop there. Oh, God. Let me, okay, where's my pause? Well, I just learned something. I had a problem with this in my class just the other day. You can't do these equal signs with the with the with the waterfall charts. I didn't know that. Okay, wonder why. Okay, maybe it's a bug in Excel, maybe not. I don't know. Maybe there's a reason for that. Okay, so we got to do this one again, and this one was so easy to do now. It depresses me, but it's pretty good that they, I have to admit, I suppose that this was pretty good that they did this, because my method wasn't as easy as that. And okay, so we just have to move on with our life, and if something's obsolete, okay, we can do that. So now I can, so that was 8.32 to 8.43. If I make my debt scenario number 2 and size it differently, then I get a different answer. And now I'm going to finish this video, and I'm just going to do some advertising for free. You get the stupid template for free. I'm going to, of course, put this file on the website. And if you want to, because all I care about right now is that just somebody uses this. If your company has some template model, which is horrible to have, you can add this to your template model. At least have a template version with this, without this. I'm talking with the UDF parallel model, blah, 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 whatever I named it. I'm obviously not good at marketing. Or if you just want to see how to add it, call me. I'll drop getting paid for doing some modeling with somebody else, and I'll work with you to try to demonstrate that it can work in the real world. Okay? That's enough. Okay? That's marketing for you, isn't it? Very profit motivated.